So, why is it that um, untangling a 5-year marriage can honestly sometimes feel emotionally easier to process than being ghosted by someone you only dated for, like, 3 weeks?
I mean, it completely defies logic.
Yeah.
But psychologically speaking, it happens all the time.
Right, and that is exactly what we are unpacking for you today. Welcome to your custom deep dive. We're looking directly at what you experienced. Why losing that brief but super intense romantic connection completely shattered you, and why your usual coping mechanisms just, well, failed.
Yeah, let's look at the scenario first. You have this one mind-blowing connection. We're talking instant butterflies, deep late-night conversations, the intimate safety of falling asleep together, even if that connection was mostly online or maybe just after one meeting.
Yeah, that creates a massive emotional investment right off the bat. But then when it ends abruptly, the instinct is often to immediately just download Tinder, swipe right on a couple of random matches, and use them as distractions, like time fillers.
Which, as you know, just doesn't work.
No, it really doesn't. It feels like trying to fix a broken bone by slapping a cheap cartoon bandage over it. Like, sure, it covers the spot, but you're not addressing the actual shattered bone underneath, right?
That is the perfect analogy. You really cannot dull genuine chemistry with a time filler. When you form that first real connection, it activates deep attachment circuitry in your brain.
Oh.
Yeah, your mind basically maps a unique emotional signature for that person. A random Tinder match doesn't have that, so your brain immediately knows it's just a temporary numbing agent, not a real connection.
So because that original chemistry activated such deep attachment, it instantly raised the stakes. Suddenly, this person matters a lot.
Exactly. Which brings us to the crippling anxiety part of it all. You go from feeling super connected to suddenly overthinking every single text message. And we usually treat that nervousness like a massive personal flaw,
Right.
like we beat ourselves up for not playing it cool.
Right, but we need to completely reframe that, I think,
Mhm.
because you rarely get nervous around people you just don't care about or people you don't fear losing.
That's so true.
So that anxiety is actually the ultimate indicator of deep value. If you are terrified of being rejected, it proves they meant something incredibly special to you. But wait, so when we panic, sweat, act completely awkward around someone we like, it's actually a bizarre compliment to them.
Basically, yes.
Why does our brain sabotage the exact thing we want most, though? Like, if I value this person, shouldn't my brain make me charming and witty?
You would think so. But unfortunately, no. Your amygdala, the threat detection center of your brain, it can't differentiate between losing a modern-day crush and being cast out of a prehistoric hunter-gatherer tribe.
Wait, really? It's that extreme?
It is. It treats the potential loss of this specific person like a literal physical survival threat. So you act awkwardly because your nervous system is forced into fight-or-flight mode.
Okay, wow. And because that intense fight or flight nervousness gets in the way, it often blocks the relationship from fully developing, which I guess leaves you with a very specific, agonizing kind of grief.
Right, because you aren't mourning a long, established relationship that slowly broke down over time. You are mourning the what if.
The unfulfilled potential.
Exactly. You're mourning the dream of what it could have been if the anxiety hadn't just completely hijacked the connection.
But is mourning a fantasy actually harder to get over than mourning a reality? Just simply because a fantasy has no flaws. Like, a reality forgets your birthday or leaves the toilet seat up. But a fantasy is totally perfect.
Yeah, realities have friction. Fantasies are pristine. And mourning that unblemished dream is uniquely painful, especially when it's compounded by a sharp, definitive end.
Like being blocked.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Even if you were the one who pulled away first out of panic, the other person's slamming and locking that digital door is brutal.
It really is a harsh final rejection.
It triggers an incredibly deep primal sense of loss because the closure's forced upon you. The door isn't just closed, the deadbolt is thrown.
So you're left holding this perfect, pristine fantasy that suddenly has nowhere to go. Which brings us right back to why those superficial Tinder matches don't work. Real emotional investment requires genuine healing, not just superficial distractions.
Exactly. You have to recognize the unique grief of losing an unblemished what if and actually give yourself permission to process it.
Right. So next time you find yourself reeling from a short-lived spark that suddenly burns out, don't just reach for a random distraction like a cheap bandage. Acknowledge what the connection really meant to you. And I want to leave you with this final thought to mull over. If our minds mourn unfulfilled potential so intensely, and fantasies are so flawless, how much of our heartbreak is actually about losing the other person, and how much is just us grieving the loss of our own imagined future?